Writing a book is a lesson in of itself. Writing a second one is an even greater opportunity to learn. I spent 5 years drafting my first book, but only half a year on the second. What changed, and how can you avoid the growing pains I went through as an author? Let's pick up where we left off last video. Before you can start your second book, you need to finish your first. But how do you know when your book is done? You've never finished one before, so you don't have any context. The biggest pitfalls for a first-time author are over-editing and self-doubt. I think the best way to avoid over-editing is to think of it as a separate process. Rather than asking yourself, is this draft perfect? Think about your story as a whole. Are the characters engaging? Does the plot make sense? And how's the general pacing? That doesn't mean the details aren't important, but no matter how many drafts you write, you're always going to need to edit your work. Having perspective is a key part of the editing process. And if you're like me and you spent 5 years writing the book, you're just not going to have it. You're too close to your manuscript. I found myself being overly ambitious, trying to tell too big of a story. If you've been following my channel for a while, you'll know that my original draft had a parallel structure. Instead of 4 primary POVs, there were 9. Basically, I was trying to write my magnum opus, but as a writer, I just didn't have enough experience to pull that off. I was fortunate enough that I could separate half of the story and the rest was still coherent, which is what I serialized. It required a tiny bit of rewriting, but nothing major. Whew. I bring this all up because it's easy to fixate. You want your debut to be perfect. And hey, maybe someone out there has pulled that off, but I don't think it's realistic. For the rest of us, it's going to make the pressure unbearable. One thing that helped me during the process was having a totem. This article co-signs that idea. It doesn't matter what it is, it just has to have significance to you. In my case, my girlfriend gave me a Daruma doll. You use them to help inspire you to work towards a goal. You fill in the left eye first, and when you're done, you fill in the right eye. I also wrote a message to myself that I put inside of it, stating my goal. I don't think there's any way that I'm going to get this out. A red one signifies good luck and perseverance. An orange one like this is for school success, family safety, and prosperity. We're gonna get rich! When it comes to the process of finishing your book, Orwell's quote sums it all up. Writing a book is a horrible, exhausting struggle, like a long bout with some painful illness. One would never undertake such a thing if one were not driven on by some demon whom one can neither resist nor understand. In other words, you need to feel a compulsion to finish your book, and that needs to come from within. External motivation and validation will only get you so far. This Matthew Arnold quote encapsulates what I think you should prioritize with your first book. Have something to say, and say it as clearly as you can. That is the only secret of style. Don't agonize over word choice. Instead, try to land the broad strokes and tell an engaging story. You can always obsessively edit later. The biggest thing I found myself fighting against was being overeager to share my book with the world. I wanted feedback. I wanted to know that all my hard work paid off. And I think the best way to scratch that insatiable itch is finding beta readers. People whose taste you trust and whose feedback you're capable of receiving in a constructive manner. That's no easy task. If no one immediately comes to mind for you, there are plenty of online communities where you can find beta readers. But for me personally, I wanted someone I had a more direct connection to. So I started sharing early drafts with friends and family, way before I'd finished the book. That provided some wonderfully encouraging feedback, especially for the fantasy half of my parallel structure. I wasn't ready to give up on my ambitious concept then, but it helped steer me towards my solution later. I edited quite a bit as I was drafting, and I think that was necessary for the kind of story I was telling, but it definitely slowed the process down. It saved me from massive rewrites later, so it was worth it, but I think you need to ask yourself as an author, is this helping my process? And the answer to that is going to be very personal. If you find that editing fills you with self-doubt and makes you want to throw your whole book away, maybe save that step for later. Write the entire manuscript, and then come back to edit it later. There's something empowering about saying, I finished my book. Like Orwell said, it's an ordeal, and it's incredibly fulfilling to write that final word. Once you reach that realization of, hey, my book is done, how do you stop yourself from editing it indefinitely? Thomas Jefferson offered this advice. The most valuable of all talents is that of never using 2 words when one will do. In the words of this article, keep it simple. Personally, I'm not sure I agree with this Beatrix Potter or this E.B. White quote. In English at least, there are some obscure but amazing words that are incredibly succinct. I love finding hyper-specific words and providing enough context that their meaning can be discerned. Also, with e-readers like Kindle, definitions are a single click away. Some people hate learning new vocabulary. Personally, I love it. Some examples of words like this are defenestration, the act of throwing someone out of a window, ideally through a pane of glass. If you really want to go down a rabbit hole, look up the Czech history of defenestration. Moonglade is another beautiful one. Petriture isn't one I knew, but I think that might find its way into my writing very soon. Same with cacography, of which I suffer. The biggest benefit for me in terms of editing was space and time. I mentioned needing perspective earlier, and getting distance from your manuscript is a big part of achieving that. The editing choices I'd make now are very different than the ones I'd make several years ago. That doesn't mean the editing I did in the past was a waste of time, but I got diminishing returns. The value of having an outside perspective cannot be overstated. Beta readers can help with that, but I do think it's necessary to work with an editor. Here's what Lynn Abbey has to say on that topic. I'm a writer first and an editor second, or maybe third or even fourth. Successful editing requires a very specific set of skills, and I don't claim to have all of them at my command. While I mentioned the need for confidence earlier, it can't be entirely irrational. You need to work towards understanding what you're good at, so you can delegate the areas where you're lacking. Querying agents was another huge step in my evolution as an author. All of a sudden, I had to have an elevator pitch, I needed to understand if my book was on market, and frankly, I needed to talk about my writing in a way that made me deeply uncomfortable. Distilling 5 years of work into several paragraphs was like pulling teeth. How could all of this fit in here? Even if you aren't driven to pursue trad publishing, I think it's worth going through this process. Drafting a query letter will teach you a lot about marketing and force you to look at your book in an entirely different way. Finding comp titles is also helpful in this respect. Unless you have amazing connections or incredible luck, chances are querying will take a long time, a frustratingly long time. For me, the prospect of waiting 2 to 3 years in a best case scenario for my book to be released was too much. But that led me down the path of self-publishing and to Royal Road. Speaking of which, let's check in on my fiction. Big time news. I reached my goal of 100 followers. Right on the money. It's tempting to immediately set a new benchmark of, say, 250 or 500, but I need to celebrate this accomplishment. And I want to show appreciation to everyone who helped me get here. Even better, on the same day that I got 100 followers on Royal Road, I got over 500 subs on YouTube. And again, I want to thank everyone for the support. It means a lot. I also want to apologize for not uploading this video at the normal time. I got sick 2 weeks ago, and well, I'll let past me explain. Sorry for the late video. I got sick about a week ago and never recovered. Right now, it'd be very hard to keep up the energy to match other videos. Oh, and I had such a good streak going too. But don't worry, I assume I'll recover soon, and I'll be back on track. Thanks, Danby. Thanks for bearing with me. Here are 2 authors I'd like to shout out. Josiah Kenezite has a new fiction called Unleashed, and Dreamweaver Writing recently hit Rising Stars with The Alchemy Kingdom. Congratulations. Beyond a sense of achievement, the biggest thing writing my first book did was prepare me for my second. It felt like a graduation of sorts. I could apply all these lessons I learned in a context I had a much greater understanding of. I locked into daily writing, which instilled a new confidence, but it also made me truly feel like an author. Even when I didn't want to write or wasn't sure the best direction for a scene, I consistently achieved my goal of 600 words a day. Your target may be different. I encourage you to find something sustainable. Something clicked for me. Royal Road deadlines no longer had the same amount of pressure. I knew I could get it done. The process itself was also very different. Like I mentioned in the intro, it only took me half a year to write the second book when it took me 5 years for the first. What facilitated that change in tempo was waiting to edit and becoming more of a pantser. I went from being a meticulous planner, or waiting for the rain barrel to fill up in that analogy I used, to being more comfortable working on the fly. Don't get me wrong, I planned, and I knew what direction I wanted to move in, but I didn't know how I would get there. I followed the advice of a D&D dungeon master who inspired me the most, Chris Perkins. In an interview, he mentioned going from extensive notes preparing for a session to having a brief outline. That switch was liberating for me. It kept things humming along. Andre Dubus describes this as following headlights. It's like driving a car down a dark, unfamiliar road, simply describing as things become visible under the beam. What's on the side of the road? He asked. What's the weather? What are the sounds? If I capture the experience all along the way, the structure starts to reveal itself. My guiding force and principle for shaping the story is just to follow the headlights. That description resonated with me because, like Andre, I had a destination in mind. I found that the characters started to steer my story if I'd let them. Instead of a scene's dynamic motivating them, you can let their established nature direct the action. By getting the reps in of writing the first book, I think my prose also benefited. They became more organic and less overwrought. When I was younger, my prose were a bit purple. They were overly descriptive. I think I was insecure about the characters and plot, so I dressed everything else up. Don't get me wrong, I like flavorful food, but there's a point where it gets too spicy. I also found it easier to focus on the plot, but I didn't fixate on it. In the words of Jim Harrison, plot can be overrated. What I strive for more is rhythm. whereas George Saunders emphasizes the sound of the words. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Few of you know this, but a lifetime ago, I was an aspiring rapper. Think a lyric-focused, underground style, as opposed to trying to pretend I was a drug kingpin. I bring it up because most of the writing I did before my first book was writing verses. And that connects to what Harrison and Saunders had to say, because what's more important in rap than rhythm and sound? I spent a lot of time thinking about cadence and how words flow together, which I think greatly benefited my writing. And if you can tell a story that rhymes, it almost feels like you're taking a weighted vest off when you no longer have to adhere to that structure. At first, waiting to edit filled me with anxiety. Serializing the first book happened way quicker than I expected, so I had to start releasing my second before it was finished. Fortunately, it was in much better shape than I expected. Let me clarify, both the first book and the second book need to be extensively edited, but I was happy with what I could present on Royal Road. I view the platform as a super beta read. Your book doesn't need to be print ready, but it should be pretty close. What's looming on my mind now is, am I going to be able to stick the landing? The first book sets up the conflict, the second expands upon it, and ends on kind of a Empire Strikes Back moment. So that means I have to wrap everything up in the third book, and writing a fulfilling conclusion is hard. Next video I'll expand on my long-term plans, and hopefully I'll be able to share Quibble's monetization policy. Tambi and I look forward to seeing you next time. What a good girl. What are you doing with that silly foot?